Is your lawn full of weeds? Biological soil educator Nicole is here to tell us why they've made themselves welcome in your backyard. Welcome to the show. Why do they make themselves welcome in the backyard?
Because of what we're doing to the soil, basically. We have a huge impact on what actually grows. And so if you're looking at and you have a weed problem, you can pretty much most of the time figure out that you've done something. There's been some kind of mechanical change, or there's been something like flooding.
Right.
Where you've scraped off the topsoil or...
Because it's interesting, we're talking to some of the crew here, and their way of getting rid of their weeds is a little bit of Roundup, or just nuke that stuff.
Right.
But you don't recommend that? No,
and it ties you into the cycle of having to keep putting more and more on.
Right.
Because we're actually changing that soil environment to suit weeds. So when we put on Roundup, for instance, we actually make that soil more bacterial. And one of the things that Roundup removes is it removes algae, which are the base of the food foundation of food pyramid in the soil. So all the other organisms feed on algae. So the algae's gone. It also takes out something called actinomycetes, which is a big word, but basically...
It's a very big word.
They're bacteria that are forming humus in the soil. So we've taken them out when we use Roundup, and that changes that soil environment to favour these primitive weeds that we've been talking about.
Okay.
So we're encouraging our weeds to come back. And also once our nutrients get out of balance, so especially when we're talking about broadleaf weeds, we've got a couple here, let's say dock. These are broadleaf weeds. They really like high potassium, low phosphorus soils. So if you get to a certain ratio, say 1 phosphorus to every 8 potassium, no matter how much herbicide you put on there, you can't kill them.
Right. So
it's actually that soil condition that they're favouring. So if we see something like a broadleaf weed, which often people find in their lawns, you know, it really bothers them that we've got this and we're going to spot spray it, what you need to do is actually get some phosphorus in there and get phosphorus active. But
for some people, some of their weeds, they actually like being there. Like, for example, fennel, which we were talking about before.
Well, that's right. If it's not a problem for you, that's fine. But not many people want onehunga weed. Yeah, okay.
Shall we have a look? We've got a picture. Oh, there's the onehunga weed right there.
Yeah.
There's an extreme close-up.
Not many people's favourite weed. So what we need to do here is, we talked about it in the first session about calcium and magnesium balances. What can we do to actually open that soil up? And calcium has a great job at flocculating and opening soils, whereas magnesium's a very tight nutrient that actually holds soils and binds them tightly. Which is sometimes if it's not getting enough oxygen, that's probably not getting enough oxygen. It's not right, is it? Yeah, that's right. So that's going to favour our onehunga weed. So we need to actually get some air in there. Yeah, and so actually putting calcium in there is going to help that. And you can manually actually, you know, put holes in there, but then you need to follow it up, or else those holes fill up. Like, some people rip their soil, but as soon as you finish ripping, it just closes back up if your magnesium balance is out. So how can we get our nutrients in there? Shall we?
We've got another picture I want to bring up. I think it's our TVNZ back. There we go. There's the TVNZ backyard. Now, what does that tell you about the TVNZ backyard there? We've got a few weeds coming up in a minute.
Probably not so clear.
It looks pretty good from that distance,
but it doesn't look so good from there. So I mean, we've got bare soil here for starters, and then we've got those real primitive weeds like the mosses. Also some patches we had, there's some wireweed. So we've got things that really like water that's sitting, so actually sitting water. And when I dug in the soil, you can't really dig in very deep. There's some fennel. So when you actually put the spade in there, you hit a hard pan. Right. And so these weeds are all telling me that there's a hard pan under there and that we've actually got an issue with compaction. Right. Yeah, and low humus and low nutrients, so especially the mosses are really screaming out that they need a feed. They just want someone to give them some care and attention. So could someone go in our backyard and drill a few holes to open it up a little bit? You could drill a few holes, but I reckon it's easier just to get some calcium on there. So that's just old-fashioned agricultural lime that you can get at any garden centre and get that on with some food. So we're going to talk about that, at actually, you know, getting some food like sugar on or some kind of carbon, but we'll talk about that in the next session. Okay. Yep. So yeah, we're just really looking at pretty primitive states of soil. What other things can we look at? Have we got some other things in here that we can look at? We have indeed. Yeah, so we've got our buttercup, we talked about that, that's sitting water again. So these are all from the same lawn, so they're all kind of giving us the same indications. Like, I wouldn't just look at one weed and say that's what's wrong with the soil because of just one weed. You've got to look at the whole population. Are these the most common? What are the most common here in New Zealand? That's a good question, and it does depend, but most of the weeds are generalists. You know, they're able to live in lots of different soil ecotypes. Right. So we will find things like dandelion from one end of the country to the other. You quite like dandelion? I do like dandelion, yeah. Dandelion I like because when they got the seed heads, you blow them and they're little fairies. Yeah, so dandelion's fine. That's something as a child that you enjoyed. Yeah, I think so. And she still enjoys it now. That's right. So there's, you know, what is a weed? Is a weed because it's a problem for you? And quite often, yeah, it is for people. So we need to think about what's going on and let's work with that to change it.
What other things we use to help, I guess, feed our lawn?
Yep.
You've talked about using magnesium or calcium. Any other things that we should look at to help, I guess, bring it up to a better standard?
Absolutely, yeah. So anything with a carbon base on it. So carbon means that it's been living before, and if we put that on with our food, then the biology get hold of it, and they start to eat away at it, and they hold on to that mineral and then give it to the plant when it's required. Other things that might affect what's happening with your lawn could be structural things, like where are you walking? What kind of practices have you got going on? So maybe in some areas, if you're going to be driving your car there all the time and you've got only hungerweed, pull the grass up and put paving in there.
Okay.
By all means, but you're fighting a losing battle if you're going to be disturbing all the time. We talked about this disturbance. If you're constantly disturbing, if it's an area that's waterlogged, like I was in farmlands recently and they had people coming in with reeds, I think some little, you know, these real coarse grasses, asking the assistant there what to do, and he's recommending all these different chemical sprays. Well, a reed, especially, you know, the real primitive reeds are telling you that there's sitting water there, so it's probably a little bit swampy. So you can keep spraying, and you can just keep on spraying, and it's never going to go away. So what we need to do is either you're going to drain that, or you're going to fence it off and turn it into a little wetland at the bottom of your yard. You know, figure out what it is that you can do. Yeah.
Wonderful. Nicole, thank you so much for coming in again.
No worries. Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks very much, Brendan and Nicole. Well, it's fruit and veggie competition time.